Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Leilu nishmasi mimerasi rusmas Mordechai. Rabbi Isai, we have a phenomenal daf today, starting with Omar Rabbi Lazar on the bottom of Daf Memvav Amud Beis. Omar Rabbi Lazar. Chadash shachdash shem chulin kshera. This is an unbelievable, mind-boggling halacha. It's counterintuitive almost. I wouldn't come up with this. I wouldn't understand this on my own. The Gemara says that if a person knows that what he's about to do, he's shechting, he knows that this is a chatos, but he wants to shecht it for steaks, for his personal usage. He doesn't want a chatos. He wants chulin. That is kosher. But if a person didn't know it was a chatos, he grabs it in the Beis Hamikdash and shechts it, he thought it's a chulin. And it's not, it's a chatos, says the Gemara, that's possible. You know what's going on here? If he's doing an aveira, he knows that it's a chatos, but he's making chulin, that's kosher. Remains kosher. Because he knew it's a carbon, so when he shechted, he knew it was a carbon. But if he didn't even know it's a carbon, zero, and he takes it and he shechts it as a chulin, but he didn't know that it's a carbon, so it's a misasik. You just haven't shecht it. For that, you get zero credit for the carbon, and therefore it's possible. Chadash shachtel Hashem chulin kshera. Mishum chulin. But if you had no idea that it was a carbon, you only did it for the chulin shaboy, psula, it's possible that's a misasik. We'll explain. Shmuel asked Rav Huna, how do you know that when a person does exactly this case, he doesn't know it's a carbon, he grabs this carbon and he thinks it's a chulin and he shechs it, it's possible? Or he was target practicing with his knife against the wall and a bird flew by and he shechted the bird. Well, you don't shech the bird, well, he did malika. Okay, so the animal ran by and the knife struck him in the neck, or like in this case, Bekitzer, he didn't have intent to do a shechita. How do you know it's possible? So he says, "Shene'amar v'shochad es ben haboker lefnei Hashem, ad shetiyeh shechita l'shem ben boker." You have to have kavana that it's for a carbon. Omar lei. So Shmuel, who asked Rav Huna, says, "Zuvideinu hi." That pasuk I know. La'akiv meinayin. I was asking you, how do you know that if you don't do it, that you ruin the carbon? Omar lei l'rtzoinchem tizbechuhu l'daitchem zivchu. L'rtzoinchem tizbechuhu means that you should do it with your das, with your mind. You should have intent. And without intent, slipping on a banana peel and shechting, or shechting a mundane animal that you thought is mundane, but it happens to be, it's chatos, that's not a shechita. It says in the Mishnah that the thought, who could manipulate the machshava? Just the person that performs the avodah, the kohen that performs the avodah. And therefore, since there's 6 different machshavas that you have to think of, you have to think about what carbon, who is it for, what's the chet, if it's a chatas, etc. So forget it. Don't think about anything. Bezin said don't think about anything. Says the Gemara, what? The only person that can have that can manipulate the thought is the kohen. What about the owner? No, he can't. So therefore, masnisin the loikai tana. There is a tana that says the owner could also have a machshav of pigol. The sanyo amar Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yosi. Shomati shabaylim ifaglim. This is another unbelievable chiddush. What a daf today. He heard, says Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yosi, I heard that the owner has the right to be mefagel. The owner, as the kohen is shechting an animal, the owner is standing to the side over there, he has a thought, and that thought can ruin this carbon. It makes the carbon pigul. His thought that he's going to eat this at his kid's bris in a week from now ruins the carbon. He didn't take action, the kohen did. The kohen is his shliach, and the Gemara brings a pasuk. It seems like the guy bringing the makriv, the owner, he's vehikriv, he's doing the avodah. Says Abai. There are 3 shitas, 3 different sugyas that are the same idea. Our sugya, that we just said, this shita that holds that the owner can manipulate the machshava of this animal even though he's not doing action. And two more. One, by a Jew shechting an animal for an idol worshiper, the machshava of the guy is going to go into the animal as he's shechting it for avodah zarah, even though the Jew is not thinking avodah zarah, the owner is. And the third one, that the owner, Ruvain, he could say that this piece of garbage, this is something important, and Shimon, somebody else, is going to carry this outside in the Rosh Hashanah, and he's going to be over until Tula Isda Raisa because Ruvain decided this is an object. These are the three different sugis that they have the same idea, the same concept. This person stands on the side and has a thought. And this kohen, this shoichet, this metaltel, he does the action, and it's considered a good machshava. We just spoke about Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi, that when it comes to in the Beis Hamikdash, when the kohen shechs, the owner, the Yisrael, has a thought of pigol, he's going to eat it after 2 months, it ruins the carbon. Hodamar. Rabbi Elazar, and what's Rabbi Elazar? It's not. If you shecht for a non-Jew, the Tanakh says it's a good shchita. Rabbi Elazar paisel, and Rabbi Elazar says it's possible. Why? Because Rabbi Elazar says that the machshav of the guy, the owner, that this animal should be shechted for avodah zarah, works. It enters the animal as the Yisrael, whoever the shoichet is shechting it. And finally, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, what does he say? That's not klal omer Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Kol she'ein kosher tzniya, something that's not, you're not supposed to hide it, you're not supposed to keep it for safekeeping. So Rashi gives a crazy example, dam nida, something that's like mamish, disgusting, and nobody wants it. Ve'im matzniyin kamayu, nobody else in the world keeps something like that. Huchshar lezev v'tzniya, if this Reuven guy decides he wants to keep this empty can of soda, he decides he's keeping this piece of toilet paper. And then a second person came and took it outside in Rosh Hashanah, either from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, or walked it 4 amas. So this guy, this second guy, was over on tilted because the first guy, Ruvain, had the machshava. These are the 3 things that are similar. As you see, we have the 3 shitas. Shita number 1 on the right is our shita, our Gemara, that if the kind of shechting and the Yisrael with the blue shirt, Mamish a goy gomer because he's wearing a blue shirt, standing above him, and he has a machshava of that he's going to eat it at a different place, at a different time, outside of a lot of time. Rabbi Eliezer, Gevaldik, you have a guy with the tattoos, the whole zach, standing over him, and the Yisrael shechting, it's a shchita of avodah zarah. And finally, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, all the way to the left, is the shita that if you take it like a soda can and you decide this is a chosh of a thing, so somebody else that carries it on Shabbos is chayiv. Says the Gemara, Tarvayu Islahu, the Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, the 2 on the left. Here, look at these arrows, beautiful. Everybody holds of Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi. In other words, whether you hold that shchita of avodah zarah or soda cans is a machshava, you're definitely going to hold it in the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Hashta b'chutz amrinon, if it's outside the Beis Hamikdash, my machshava as an owner can manipulate this item, this thing, hashta b'chutz amrinon, b'fnim mibayos, so certainly inside the Beis Hamikdash as well. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, lesser tarvayu. Now, you see how the 2 arrows go to the right? Because everybody holds like Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, that when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash, the owner can manipulate the pigul in this animal. However, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi does not hold to them. So 2 red arrows coming out of Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi going to Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. He doesn't hold that just because the guy thought about avodah zarah makes it avodah zarah. Just because the guy thought the soda can is a kli, it's a kli. Why? Maybe he only holds that in the Beis Hamikdash, not outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Great. Now, we said this, the first step is that Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds of Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Eliezer holds of Rabbi Eliezer. Now the question is, does Reb Shimon ben Elazar hold of the center one? And does the center one, Reb Eliezer, hold of Reb Shimon ben Elazar? That's the only thing that we have to do, and then we got it all straight. Says Gemara, yes, Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds of Reb Eliezer. In other words, Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds all three cases that you can manipulate with your mind. Then what? The Omer holds, if you're not watching this and you're just listening to this on Spotify or Kol Shan, so you'll know what I'm talking about. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that you can make a soda can into a can to be mechayiv the second person for Tilul Shabbos, holds that the guy can make the carbon, or not the carbon, the shchita can make it out of the zar shchita. But Reb Shimon ben Elazar is like the Reb Eliezer. Hashta b'Shabbos amrinon. If you hold this on Shabbos, but with the zar mebaya. So Rashi says here that there's a puzzle that says Zevach lelohim yachram, that if you shech tav the zara, you should be put in cherem, whatever lashon of cherem, bildi lashem. And the Rashi goes on to say that avodah zara is similar to lahavdil, but it's similar to the shechita in the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore he says hilkach linya machshava nami ikel migmer b'fnim. That's what he says all the way on the bottom. That when it comes to a thought, you can learn avodah zara from shechita, but Shabbos has no source. So if you hold that by Shabbos, my thought can manipulate somebody else's action. So certainly when it comes to avodah zara, my thought can manipulate the shaychet's action, because I learned avodah zara from the Beis Hamikdash. Rebbe Eliezer, but finally, the center one, even though it goes from Reb Shimon ben Elazar to Rebbe Eliezer, but Rebbe Eliezer doesn't hold Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Rebbe Eliezer, let's let Reb Shimon ben Elazar dilma b'avodah zara with Arminon came b'fnim. Maybe dafka when it comes to avodah zara, we say avodah zara is similar to the Beis Hamikdash. Ava Shabbos belechas machsheves asur Torah. What did the Torah say? It says you can't do work on Shabbos. You can't do a malacha on Shabbos. But that's a malacha that you know that you're doing a malacha. But this guy, when he's carrying the soda can, he says, "This is not a malacha. This is not a thing. This is nothing. This is toilet paper. I'm not carrying anything." He's supposed to suffer because Ruvain decided that's not toilet paper. That's something kosher. It goes by your mind. It goes by your meleches machsheves, machshava, your work that had to do with the machshava. And Memela, it doesn't work on Shabbos, it only works in avodah zara and in Pigol, according to Rebbe Eliezer. Hadron aloch beishamai, hadron aloch beishamai, hadron aloch beishamai. Eizim makayim shel Zevachim. Where do you do the avodas in the Beis Hamikdash? Zevachim, the karbanas. Kachi kadashim shchitasim batzafen. What is so? When you're saying this, what do you think of yourself? What's kachi kadashim? What is that? Now we know. We're learning Kachim now, Baruch Hashem, so we have a little bit of an understanding. Here's the famous list. Kachi Kadashim is a Chatas, is a Oila, is a Asham, Shamit Tzibur. Kachi Kalam is a Toida, B'char, Meiser, Nazir, what else do we have here? Shlomim, Pesach. The lighter guys. You have the heavyweights, the Chatas and the Oila, the Kachi Kachim, and you have Kachim Kalam. So I want to point out here, because the Gemara is going to ask later, so I just want to point out. There's a header in the Mishnah. The Shechita takes place in the northern part of the Beis Hamikdash. Doesn't mention here the Kabbalah Saddam. Although later on in the Mishnah it does mention Kabbalah Saddam, but it's not in the header. And the Gemara wants to know, why isn't it in the header? So what is Tzafon? We discussed it numerous times, but if you're brand new to the shir, I shlept this from Eretz Yisrael, so I want to get my money's worth. This is the Beis Hamikdash. This is the Heichal. This right over here, this little guy right over here, this little part is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. This is the Heichal. This is where the menorah is. Menorah. This is the Mizbech HaZav. This is the giant Mizbech HaChiv. This is what we're talking about. I'm going to show you a much better depiction that Yoshi did, just to familiarize yourself with this. This line right over here, there's a line that goes with the Mizbeach from side to side. From this line down, that's north. This north of the Mizbeach, south of this line, north of this line. Now, does it include the entire width of the Azara? That's a three-way machlokes, we said. But certainly this area of the Mizbeach, and it's actually depicted in another color, you could see, it's a darker color, that entire area. Now, let's see what Yoshi did. So you see the Mizbeach now, and everything from the Mizbeach upwards is north. So Rabbi Yehuda says in the green area, everything north of the Mizbeach. Rebbe adds that area, but of course, Rebbe also agrees to this area as well because it's closer to the Heichal. Also, Rebbe Shimon says only the green and the purple, but not the blue. It's not our sugya, but it's kedai to understand. So when we're saying ezim koimshus vachim, kochi kochim, what's kochi kochim? Oil chatas. Shchita asan, batzafin. What's safin? North of the Mizbeach. We have a 3 machlokes. Is it the entire width? There's that. Okay, we're doing great now. The kibul dom glisharis. I don't know if you don't like this kind of stuff. Don't get grossed out. But I didn't show it in a long time. I'll show it here. Why not? You have the shchita and the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah's Hadam is also in the tzaf. Okay. Part of the Sar Shel Yom Kippurim Shchitas B'Tzafon. When we're talking about the bull of Yom Kippur and the Sar of Yom Kippur, there's the 2 goats. One goes Lazazel, throw him off the cliff. The other one we shech. And we have the par of Yom Kippur, the bull of Yom Kippur. Remember, we discussed it. There's the 43 dams, and we're going to discuss it right now. It's a combination of the blood of the par and the blood of the Sar. So the shchita, by the way, shchita of all animals is in the tzafon. Kavos Adam of all animals, I believe, is in the tzafon. When it comes to Yom Kippur, you must sprinkle 8 times. The coin stands between the poles of the aron. In our picture is in Bayis Sheni, so there's no poles, there's no aron, unfortunately. That's the Even Shasiyah. And you can see there's 8 drops of blood on the right of the machta of the Ketores and 8 on the left. There's the 8 blood on the divided between the bull. There's 8 drops of blood from the bull and 8 drops of blood from the goat. Total of 16. Then he goes to the paroiches. This is, remember, palm up, palm down, but 8 over here. 8 and 8, so it's another 16. 8 for the bull, 8 for the goat, in the Heichal, not in the Kodesh HaKodashim. So that's the total 32. Then 7 on top of the Mizbeach Hazov, you can see the 7 right over here. 7. And then in addition to that, another 4. So that's another 11. Total of 43. 32 plus 11, 43. The Shema. If you miss one, you're done. It's unbelievable. Look how beautiful this is. So now, when you're saying this, you understand what's going on here. You have all these matanas. You had 16 in the Kodesh HaKodashim, 16 in the Heichal, on the floor. Another 7 in the Heichal on top of the Mizbeach, another 4 on the Kronos. Gewaldig. What do you do with the leftover blood? You pour it into the Yisod and Mizbeach. What does that look like? Here, grab these images, put them in your brain. He pours the extra blood, whatever's left over, right next to those drains. They're in the western corner. Why western corner? Here, let's take a flyover of the Beis Hamikdash, and we'll see those corners. It will be quick, but this is north. This is the north side. This is the west side, and here are the 2 holes right over there. Okay. Memela. But if you didn't pour the extra blood in, it's not a done deal. It doesn't ruin the carbon. There are those bulls that you completely burn. You don't put on the mizbeach. It's the par helam davar and the par of koina mashiach, which we discussed extensively, and the sirim and esrafim and the goats that are burnt completely. Where do they burn them? We'll see in a second. These are the goats of Avodah Zarah. Where do you shech them? Where you shech all animals. Shchitazim batzafan. V'kibul damik lisharis batzafan. And you receive the blood in the north. V'dam ta'an azoyala paroiches v'mizbach hazov. How many blood sprinkles do we do? We discussed this many times. Only 11. 7 over here like this in the Heichal. 7 right over there in front of the Paroiches, in the Echel, and 4 over here. 7 plus 4 equals 11. V'daman ta'un hazoya ala Paroiches v'al mizbach hazov. 11. Returning to the Mzayin on the base, or boy saying Mzayin on the Matana achas mem akeves. If you miss one of the 11, no good. And same thing that we said before. Leftover blood goes into the holes on the base of the mizbech. Even if you forgot to do it, you're not ma'akiv. Oh, so now Beis Hadeshen. Let me just show you Beis Hadeshen. We'll do the sponsors. I want the oilam to not get mixed up here. There's two things. There's something called Beis Hadeshen and something called Trumas Hadeshen. Two very, very different things. Trumas Hadeshen is where the kohen, I'll show you a video if you want, a kohen takes the coals every single morning, takes a little bit of it, and puts it next to the mizbeach. The Beis Hadeshen is outside of Yerushalayim. It's a mound where they take when it piles up too high, you take the coals and you put it out there. You also burn the parim over there. That's where you burn the parim. So let's see what it looks like this. You burn the parim, and here's the extra coals right over there. What's Trumas Hadeshen? This is not what we're doing. Not this. I think there was an AI miss out. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so this is Trumas Hadeshen. This is an avodah that you do. Over there it's Beis Hadeshen. So the Gemara v'nistin nami v'kibul domon b'klisharis batzafan. How come in the header of the Mishnah the word Kabbalah Saddam is not mentioned? It's mentioned later on in the Mishnah where the Kabbalah Saddam is supposed to be in the tzafan. So how come the Mishnah, when it says Zevachim kochim shchitazim batzafan v'Kabbalah Saddam batzafan, it should say. It doesn't say it. Says the Gemara, unbelievable. Because there's the one of the 3 karbanos that the Mitzayra who has a skin affliction, for talking Lashon Hara, whatever it is, he has to bring 3 karbanos. One of them is the Asham, and that the kohen receives the blood with his hand. That's why it's not mentioned in the Mishnah. You can't say, oh, the Kabbalah's dam is universally in the tzafan. There's one that's not done with the kli, shairi. So I left it out. As the Gemara Veloy, what are you talking about? It is accepted in the kli. It says in the Mishnah, Asham nozer Asham etzayer shchitazim batzafan v'kibul damon b'kli sharis batzafan. It says mefurish that the Kabbalas Hadam, later on it says Kabbalas Hadam of the Asham of the Mitzayra is done with a kli in the north. Says the Gemara, in the beginning, the Tana thought that the Kabbalah Saddam should be with the hand. Shire, so that's why he left it out of the Mishnah here. But then he realized later on that it has to be with the Kli. So the Gemara explains what's going on here. What do you mean? He thought in the beginning it should be with his hand, and then later on, the Sanya of Bakli, it says in the Pasuk Velokach, I think you should do with a Kli. You put the blood with your finger. It's like Gemara learns that just like the kohen takes blood from his palm and puts it on the mitzvah's ear and thumb, etc., and he sprinkles it in the heichal with his hand. So the Kabbalah, the receiving of that dam, should also be with the hand. So maybe I would think, I hope I didn't skip here. Let me just go back. I'll think that when you bring the blood to the mizbeach, to do this rikas on the mizbeach, you should do it with your hand. There's a hekesh between a chatas and a asham. Just like a chatas, you do with a kli, so to the asham. My chatas doing a kli, I've done a kli. So what do I do? On the one hand, the pasuk says you should receive the blood with your hand. On the other hand, it says that you should receive it with the kli. So what do I do? Compromise. 2 kohanim. One kohen receives the blood with a kli, and the other with his hand. They both jump in there and they try to get as much blood as they can. One with the kli, one with the hand. And what do they do with it? The one who received it with his hand should go to the mitzvah. The one that received it with the kli should go to the mizbeach. Rabbi said, I just want to show you one final geshmaka video, and with that, we're gonna finish the shir.
זהו קורבן אשם מצורע.
אני מקבל את הדם בכלי, ואתה ביד.
מה פתאום? אני בכלי, אתה
אני
ביד.
אמרתי קודם, אני בכלי. אולי מעשה אבן נייר ומספריים, מי מקבל בכלי?
קדימה.
השתגעתם? אתה יודע כמה מילים רב אלי יקבל על זה שכהנים משחקים אבן נייר ומספריים?
לא משנה מה תעשו, תמיד אנשים יתלוננו ויאשימו.
In Hebrew, there'll always be somebody guilty, and it's Hashemim, and he's a Asham, so it's a play on words. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.